Welcome to Stoic Sage Wisdom, where ancient philosophy guides us through modern struggles. Today, we uncover the hidden burdens of Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor who ruled with wisdom, yet battled private doubts, relentless wars, and personal loss. His life wasn't just about power, but about resilience in the face of adversity. What can we learn from his struggles? How can we apply his wisdom to our own lives? Stay with us to find out, and if you seek strength, clarity, and the mindset of a true Stoic, subscribe now and join our growing community of wisdom seekers. Struggle number 1. The weight of endless war. A Stoic emperor on the battlefield. When Marcus Aurelius became emperor in 161 AD, he did not inherit a time of peace or stability. Instead, his reign was immediately thrown into turmoil, forcing him into the role of a warrior philosopher rather than a ruler who could focus on governance and philosophy. Unlike many emperors before him who indulged in the luxuries of Rome, Marcus spent much of his rule on the front lines, away from the marble halls of the imperial palace and deep in the harsh, unforgiving realities of war. The Marcomannic Wars, a relentless conflict. One of his greatest struggles was the Marcomannic Wars, which lasted for nearly 2 decades. The northern borders of the Roman Empire, particularly along the Danube River, were under constant attack by Germanic tribes and other hostile forces. These invasions threatened Rome's stability, forcing Marcus to personally lead his legions in battle. Unlike many rulers who delegated military affairs to generals, Marcus took direct command, overseeing strategies and ensuring his empire's survival. He camped with his soldiers, endured the brutal winters, and suffered the same hardships as his men. His leadership was not built on comfort, but on the resilience to face the same struggles as those he led. A life of hardship on the battlefield. Marcus Aurelius was not a man of war by choice. He was a philosopher at heart, drawn to deep contemplation and introspection. But duty called, and he answered. Life on the battlefield was grueling. Relentless battles. He was constantly strategizing, negotiating, and fighting against invading forces that never seemed to stop. Harsh conditions. Unlike the warm climate of Rome, the northern front was brutal. The army endured freezing temperatures, harsh winds, and illnesses. Personal sacrifice. While other rulers basked in luxury, Marcus spent years away from his family, missing out on key moments with his wife and children. Unending responsibility. Every decision he made could mean life or death for thousands. He carried the burden of knowing that the survival of Rome depended on his ability to lead. The plague. A war of a different kind. As if military conflicts weren't enough, Marcus faced an even greater enemy. The Antonine Plague, one of the deadliest pandemics in Roman history. Brought back by soldiers returning from the Eastern campaigns, this disease wiped out nearly 5 million people, including soldiers, civilians, and high-ranking officials. The empire was already struggling under the weight of war, and now, an invisible enemy threatened to collapse it from within. Marcus did not flee from this disaster. Instead, he did what any true Stoic would do. He faced it head-on. He worked tirelessly to manage the crisis, organizing relief efforts, providing aid to the sick, and ensuring that the empire remained functional despite the devastation. The philosopher in war. Writing meditations. Despite living through one of the most difficult times in Roman history, Marcus still made time for self-reflection. It was during these dark years that he wrote Meditations, a private journal filled with his thoughts on resilience, virtue, and the power of the mind. Many of his writings from this time reflect his personal struggle to stay true to his Stoic values amid war and suffering. He reminded himself that, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. What stands in the way becomes the way. Do what is right, not what is easy." These words were not just philosophy. They were his way of staying sane amid chaos. He wasn't writing for fame or recognition. He was writing to keep himself from breaking under the weight of leadership and suffering. A true test of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius is often seen as the ideal Stoic sage, but his philosophy was not shaped in peace. It was forged in fire, war, and hardship. He did not have the luxury of simply thinking about Stoicism. He had to live it every single day while dealing with war, death, loss, and betrayal. Through it all, he never abandoned his duty and remained true to his principles. Even when exhausted, surrounded by suffering and uncertain about the future, he continued leading, fighting, and upholding the values he believed in. This was the weight of endless war, a burden that Marcus Aurelius carried with unshakable resolve. And though he suffered greatly, his example continues to inspire those who seek strength in the face of adversity. Final struggle, the pain of betrayal and a failed legacy. After years of war, suffering, and self-sacrifice, Marcus Aurelius faced one of the most heartbreaking struggles of all: betrayal and the collapse of his legacy. The betrayal of Avidius Cassius Marcus had always ruled with wisdom, fairness, and patience, yet even his closest allies turned against him. In 175 AD, one of his most trusted generals, Avidius Cassius, declared himself emperor. Cassius had been a successful commander, entrusted by Marcus to oversee the eastern provinces. However, due to a false rumor that Marcus was dead, Cassius took the opportunity to seize power. What was Marcus's reaction? Not anger, not vengeance, but calm acceptance. In true Stoic fashion, he saw betrayal not as an injustice, but as part of life's unpredictable nature. He didn't seek immediate retaliation, but instead hoped to settle the matter peacefully. However, before Marcus could even respond, Cassius was assassinated by his own men. Despite this, Marcus showed mercy to those involved, refusing to let hatred consume him. His actions proved that Stoicism was not just something he preached, it was something he lived. The ultimate tragedy: his son, Commodus. Perhaps the greatest irony of Marcus Aurelius's life was that, despite all his wisdom and efforts, his own son, Commodus, would go on to destroy much of what he had built. Unlike his father, Commodus was reckless and self-indulgent, caring more about gladiator games than ruling wisely. Cruel and extravagant, undoing many of the reforms Marcus had fought so hard to implement. Easily manipulated, allowing corruption to spread throughout the empire. Marcus had devoted his life to philosophy, discipline, and moral strength. Yet his own son became one of the most notorious emperors in Roman history. This was perhaps the deepest pain of all, knowing that despite all his struggles and sacrifices, his legacy would not be preserved as he had hoped. The final lesson: true wisdom outlives power. Marcus Aurelius died in 180 AD, not as a victorious conqueror, but as a weary philosopher-emperor who had given everything for Rome. Yet, despite the betrayals, the wars, and the personal suffering, his true legacy was not lost. Commodus may have ruled poorly, but meditations survived. His words of wisdom outlived the empire itself. His life teaches us a powerful lesson: control what you can, accept what you cannot, and live with virtue, no matter the circumstances. Join Stoic sage wisdom. Marcus Aurelius's struggles were not just the struggles of an emperor. They were the struggles of every human being who seeks wisdom, purpose, and strength in adversity. His life reminds us that even the greatest among us face hardship, but through Stoic philosophy, we can endure and grow stronger. If you seek to develop resilience, master your mind, and live a life of wisdom, then you are in the right place. Subscribe to Stoic Sage Wisdom today, and let's walk this path together, learning from the greatest Stoic minds to shape a stronger, wiser future.